Welcome to the Fantasy Grandma podcast. Sam or Samantha, which one do you prefer?
Sam.
Okay, we're going to go with Sam. Sam, it is so great to have you on here.
Thank you.
So, a little bit of an interesting one because you actually were the one that pointed it out. We have been following each other for quite some time. I actually go so far as to say that I think you may have been one of the first accounts I followed on Instagram. So we've actually known each other for years, but we haven't really had much of a conversation since then. Just out of interest, what prompted you to start the discussion about coming on to the podcast?
Well, I'm just trying to get out of my comfort zone. So I have, because obviously we followed each other since like 2023.
Yeah.
I am so good at lurking. I'm such a lurker. And that's kind of how my career has been as well. Like I've kind of like been shadow publishing and like not putting myself out there to talk to other authors. And it's been like detrimental to my business, I think. And so for the past year, I've been really trying to reach out and make connections with people, like actual chatting and like getting into Discord groups with people. So yeah, this is because I don't want to be like the wallflower anymore.
If I look at when I published my first book, I was just like, hey, here's a book. Bye. I think we sometimes get into this, oh, everyone will see our book. Our book will be a bestseller. And then we realize, oh shit, here comes the marketing part, which is arguably a lot harder than writing the book.
Oh, yeah, the worst part. It's the biggest puzzle.
I don't know if this is for you, but for me, like I overthink it so much. I go, oh, people are so sick of hearing from me. They're so sick of seeing the same book. They're probably judging me. But then I'm also like, let's be honest, no one gives a shit.
That's the mindset that I've had for the last like probably 6 months is no one cares. Repetition is fine, especially, like social media marketing and just posting in general. If you repeat the same post over and over again, the same person won't see it. So the same person won't see like 7 or 8 posts and think, oh, I saw this yesterday. That's not how the algorithm works anymore. I've leaned into this. You've just got to keep shouting and shouting and don't worry about being like annoying. Like, who cares?
I look at some of the, I would almost say the bigger indie authors. I love to use Corinna Hill, I know she's hybrid, and Vanessa Rosanen as examples, where I believe the term is they repurpose a lot of their content. And I don't always see their content, even though I'm technically their ideal reader type as well. I actually have started taking a lot of inspiration from how they approach it, because it's not just pretty graphics, it's also smart ways of, hey, how do I talk to my ideal readers? So authors like them are great examples for authors like us.
I've got a folder on Instagram which I save posts to. If I see a post from another indie author and I think, oh, that, not just the graphics, but like even just the caption, I think, oh, that's so well done. And I put it into my little folder. And then I go and look at that for inspiration for like creating like all of my masterpieces in Canva, like straight into Canva, my favorite tool.
I think I said this on your podcast account once, but if I had to pick one tool only, it would be Canva. Canva
100%.
is fucking life-changing.
It's my favorite thing. Ever since I got the paid account, so like the pro account, I've just never looked back. Why didn't I do it sooner? It's so cheap. It's like $100 for a year. And I am like, I use it every single day. The best thing in my life.
Sam, why don't you tell us what got you started in writing? Because for me, I found that a very interesting question considering your impressive backlist.
Started, I can't even remember what year I actually wrote my first book. Maybe 2012. Yeah, like a while ago, I discovered NaNoWriMo and saw it as like a fun challenge. Like I've never been great at school stuff, so I didn't do well at school. And I talked myself out of the idea of writing because I thought I wasn't smart enough, which is still something that I struggle with on a daily basis. I found NaNoWriMo through probably I think the Vlog brothers, John Green and Hank Green on YouTube. I think maybe that's like how I got into it because I love John Green books. And wrote a book, realized I could do it, like 50,000 words in a month, and found it easy. Yes, it's crazy. And I've done it ever since. Like every year I will write a book in November. And like they don't all see the light of day, but some of them turn into the books that I publish. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then I started like publishing for myself in 2016, very quietly under a pen name.
Yeah.
And it's taken me this long to think, I should actually be doing this under my name and looking at it like a business rather than like a secret mission.
So that's actually a great segue into the whole pen name discussion that I want to have with you. I write under a pen name, and I've had some people go, "Oh, you can't like have a copy of your book with your legal name on it." I was like, "I don't care. I still know it's me." The main reason why I did it is because of my job, and I have some questionable content in some of my books, and I'm like, I don't want to be sitting in a boardroom chatting to the chief of digital, and sorry, I wrote about this. Like, it's just, would I be able to clarify that conversation? 100% yes. I just don't want to. I don't want my next employer to do a quick search under my legal name and then find all this content, and then it prevents my future job prospects. So that's my reason why I did it. Tell me why you went with the pen name at first, because it was Frances June and now you've gone with your legal name, Samantha.
Yes, it's kind of like a twist on my legal name, because my middle name doesn't start with B. So my new pen name is Samantha B. Cummings, and it was just because I wanted to throw something in that was kind of just broke my name up a bit. It wasn't quite my legal name, and also is like, as my parents said, does the B stand for Buffy? Kind of, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, my parents were like, I see what you've done there. So I started with Frances June because I didn't want people to know I was publishing. I was so just not confident in what I was doing. It was a secret habit, a secret thing that I was doing. And yeah, I just didn't want anybody to know. Not that I because I wasn't writing anything bad, but there was no spice. I write young adult books. But I've dipped into like middle grade, and I do have an adult series. It's an urban fantasy. It's not too graphic. My parents could read it. So I think just scared. I think I was just hiding behind a name for fear of people finding out what I was doing and having to reveal that part of myself. I'm a Gemini. I like to have all these multiple like facets of myself hidden from view. I am quite secretive. Bad habit. So yeah, it was all kind of like to try and be secretive. And then I started to tell people as I got a bit more confident in what I was doing. And then I didn't really care about it. And it got to this point in my career where I wanted to start releasing slightly darker books, where I thought, well, if I'm going to switch up my subgenre, I might as well do it under my name, because I'm kind of where I want to be now. I've found my writing zone. I've now cast it aside. My boss in my day job doesn't care. He's as excited about my writing as like probably one of the reasons he hired me. He's a musician, so kind of like I fell into a good group with my employment that it was like no big deal. I'm just kind of ready to be myself as much as possible and not hide behind my insecurities.
That's so powerful though, like the whole not the insecurities part, but the yourself, because I was having a chat with an author friend the other day. I don't know if you have this, but when I look back on some of my younger work, I cringe a little bit, not gonna lie, because like I can see all the things that I would do different now. But I finally come to a place of, sounds a bit lame, but peace, because I wouldn't be the author I am right now, who I happen to like, might I add, if I hadn't written those works.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I can actually read that work and I'll be like, okay, now knowing what I know, I'd maybe do this and this, but I'm super grateful for that series. And I think I really relate to what you're saying there, is that after a period of time, you get to this, for lack of a better word, I don't give a fuck point of my career. Like, I'm going to write what I want to write. If you don't like it, there's the next author.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, as you get older as well, that helps. So I started when I was in my 20s and I've just turned 40. So I'm like, I've got to that point in my life where it's literally, there's no point in trying to do anything other than what I want anymore. Yeah. So it's like very freeing. Like people who are scared of getting older and making mistakes and maybe releasing books that aren't great. Just do it. Just get older and release all the books. Like, don't worry about it. Everyone gets better as they go.
In the beginning, like I was petrified of someone in my life reading my book. Now I'm just like, well, you chose to read it, so if you don't like it, that's your problem. I've said this in the past, is that I would rather try and fail than not know what it could have been.
Yeah, that's my whole ethos in life is just try. I don't care. I don't think failure exists. I don't believe in failure. I believe in just like trying and learning.
Yeah.
Everything that you do is just like just something to learn from. It's not that serious. I say that all the time to people, like, life isn't that serious. Just have fun.
I was one of my, I wouldn't say it was my first jobs, but I was still in my 20s. And I made a pretty big mistake at work. I mean, like, listen, I've got a whole big list I can share with you. But, like, now I can look back on it and laugh, but back in the day, I was like, I'm going to lose my job. One of those traumatic situations. And one of the girls turned around to me and she was like, it's not that serious. We're not saving babies. She's like, if you were saving babies, fine, freak the fuck out. We can fix it. Like, we work in digital, so most things can be fixed with it.
Yeah.
Like, chill. It was one of the best lessons I've learned in my career because, like, someone said to me that they were like, I never see you panic or freak out or get overwhelmed. And I'm like, well, why would I? There's a logical solution to most things. And if it worked the way I wanted it to, well, then I try the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
We're kindred spirits.
But I do have a follow-up question for you there. So you mentioned you've done a little bit of middle grade. You mentioned you've got an adult series. You mentioned you're in YA and it's becoming a little bit darker. Why did you decide to, I almost want to say, focus on the YA category when a lot of indie authors are starting to play in the new adult space?
I don't dislike the new adult space. I mean, I would say a lot of young adults is kind of cuspy. A lot of it could kind of be pushed over into new adult.
Yes.
I think young adult is just like my passion. I have forever read it and will read it for the rest of my life. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
And I just am attached to it so much that I know that I could chase a different genre or subgenre for like the current trend. But because I know I'm going to be doing this for a long time, I'd rather just create a brand that people know what to expect and just do that for as long as possible rather than chop and change. Because I've chopped and changed like for all of like the years of my career so far, like, as I've been trying different things. And I really found that I just love writing young adult. I love writing teenagers who just get into trouble and get like all sorts of magical trouble. That is my thing. I love it. So that's me for now.
I started in YA because, quite frankly, I didn't know any better. So, like you, I read a lot of YA. I actually didn't realize that there was a difference between the subcategories. I was just like, there's fantasy and it's cool. That's the material moments. And I've now moved into the adult space because, quite frankly, American moms scare the shit out of me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I, like, it wasn't super graphic. I have to like underline that part. I put a little bit of spice in my first YA series, not knowing the whole thing about don't put spice in a YA book. And I swear, like, I've now actually re-edited my first like few books with YA, and I've like now toned it down to like a sentence because I was like, if Cassandra Clare could put spice in her YA books, and again, it was like it wasn't super graphic; it was just kind of more like a sentence. I was like, then I can live with it. But American moms scare the shit out of me with this whole no spice in YA books because I'm like, am I going to be fucking cancelled? If
Oh God, I long to be cancelled for putting something in a YA book. Cancel me, it's fine.
yeah,
That'll just add to my marketing plans.
well, now I'm like, okay, cool. You want to cancel me? Great. I was like I promise you, they are the worst things in the world. But yeah, baby. I do want to chat a little bit about your series Moon and Magic. You've just completed it. It is a trilogy, and you've been comping it to Teen Wolf, and I love that series, might I add.
Yeah.
I'm also not seeing that many werewolf series out there at the moment. So I have a two-part question for you there. Number one, chat us through your inspiration for the series, but also the second part, what are the bittersweet feelings that come with saying goodbye to these characters?
I have to say, I did cry when I wrote the end. The inspiration was that I love werewolves. I love werewolf stories. And I love Teen Wolf. I was like, even the 80s Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox is like a guilty pleasure. I love that film. And then when they did the TV show, I've watched it so many times. It's probably like Netflix should take it away from me. Yeah, they should just put a cap on it. No more. Yeah, I just love werewolves, but forever just found that werewolves were just like men. Or if they were women, it was like, oh, only one. I love the Bitten series. But it was like, oh, just one special woman can survive. And and it was kind of like just really focused on like sexuality and like the romance stuff. And I love romance, and there is romance in my books, but I just wanted books about girls who were werewolves, and it was literally like just part of who they were. No like ties to their periods or the moon or like their emotional states, and they're not like tied or bound to any alphas. In fact, like one of the girls in the pack, who is the elder sister, is like an alpha in training. But I just wanted to do something a little bit different, like put some girls in the forefront for action. So it's kind of like Teen Wolf mixed with Buffy. So the girls are all like kick-ass characters who are not afraid to get into a fight and go and rescue their friends. I just wanted to do like a little action series with girls who are absolutely deadly.
Yeah.
And saying goodbye to them is really tough because I can't remember when I started writing this series, but it was a while ago. Werewolves aren't really popular in YA. They are more popular in like the romance side of things. I basically sold myself down the river with it because I thought at some point werewolves will come back in.
Yeah.
And when werewolves will come back in, people will find this series and hopefully they'll love it. So saying goodbye is sad, but I feel like it still has legs. Like I'm proud to have it on my backlist for people to find now going forward. They can read the whole series and get involved in some magical adventure.
I am not a massive crier. I'm very much matter of fact, but my YA series that I just completed, I don't necessarily prioritize a happy ending. I prioritize closure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually made myself a little bit emotional with that ending. And I was like, it's weird because you spent 3 books, which, depending on the writer, it could be more, could be less. But let's say on average, you spend 3 years of your life with these characters and then never to be seen again. And I'm just like, out of context, I'm sounding a little bit crazy saying this. It's like you're saying goodbye to your friends.
Oh, it is though, because they live in your head. I mean, they do still live in my head. I do still think about them pretty much every day. But yeah, it's strange not to go and like work on the book and like watch their interaction, even though you wrote the interactions, but kind of like read through the interactions and see everything happening because I'm such a visual person. Like I can just see everything like a movie in my head, and to not see them anymore on a daily basis is sad and strange. But I know like the ending, I'm really happy with the ending because I left them with a lot to work with. So in my mind, they are like, there's still lots going on for them. And like, I'm fine with that.
And,
I didn't write them off a cliff.
and if you wake up one day feeling like, hey, maybe there's a spin-off or a novella, like it sounds like you've left the door open for yourself there.
I have definitely left myself open to go back to it.
I love that. I do have to ask though, what's your bookish hot take?
I don't want to upset anyone because I know this is like probably just coming from an author's perspective. But I don't understand people who don't review books afterwards on Amazon or Goodreads, or like I use Literal, which is a nice little app, or any app that you use.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you wouldn't go and leave a review after you've read it. So I can obviously see how many people download and read my books.
Yeah.
But I struggle to get people to review. And this is like a thing for all indie authors or all authors in general, is like getting reviews is so hard. I don't understand why. Once I finish something, the first thing I do once I finish a book is I go onto every app that I have and I leave a review. And so my bookish hot take is that people who don't leave reviews are insane. You're insane. You're wrong.
Because, like, I get it, life happens. Please don't get me wrong. But the part that freaks me out the most is when, and I hope I'm not putting my foot in it, is when authors launch a book and they say, hold up for 3 weeks if you add a bad review. Because I'm like, first of all, So I'm like, please don't get me wrong. I understand how the algorithm works. Like, this is not an issue of that. Okay. In 3 weeks' time, I've moved on. There is no reviewing your book. Like, I review it when I'm done. And I just feel like that is the risk that we take as authors, is that someone's my book.
Yeah, I'm mentally and emotionally prepared for bad reviews, she says. When I get like a 3-star, I'm like, Why is my life over? I don't care what the review is. It's just when you review, you kind of like send this is like such a big conversation that's not suitable for this. Like, but I'll keep it short. It's
Yeah.
like dropping a stone in a pond and the ripples that go out. Just you don't know what those ripples will do, but it will definitely do something.
Yeah.
So I don't care what makes the ripple, whether it's a 1-star review or a 5-star review. I just want the ripples to happen. Yeah, I'm not. I would never tell somebody to wait 3 weeks before you absolutely drag me over the hot coals.
It's one of the reasons why I personally struggle with ARCs at the moment. We have the whole debate with authors shouldn't review other authors' work, which I have a bit of a problem with. I
Yeah,
necessarily agree, even though I've had some guests on the podcast have that stance, and that's fine. Like I created this podcast where we can have differing opinions. We shouldn't have to agree
yeah.
with everyone. I've had some like other authors when I asked for them to go, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this in reviews, and I was like, well, then I don't ask for you. Like that's where I'm going. I
Hmm.
want to support you. I'm giving up my valuable writing time actually to support you because I believe in your vision. But if you're going to place all these rules, take the fun out of reading, because that's really what it is,
Yeah.
and then still dictate how I can do those things.
Mm,
Now that I'm maybe not a fit for you, where
yeah.
also had some people go, and I know I do this, I actually buy books based on bad reviews.
Oh, I don't even look at reviews. I don't look at reviews to buy a book. I
Yeah.
just buy on vibe.
Well, not gonna lie,
How about on Verb?
I am very shallow. Give me a pretty cover. Sold.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what it's about. No, don't care. It's pretty. That's
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
that matters. One of my friends, she's way more organized than I am when it comes to reviews, might I add. She does like a whole month wrap up. She makes notes.
Um.
She categorizes everything. Like, I actually looked at it and I was like, I am so impressed. I don't know what is
Hmm.
right now. Like,
Yeah.
fine, that is a different situation right
We
there.
need those people. We need those people to exist. And then you need like people like us who are just like, I want to read a book, just enjoy it, and then go and drop some stars somewhere. I find it hard to critique my own work, which is why I kind of send it out to other people. Um, I'm not a critiquer. When I read, I am in a book, and that's it. I'll either enjoy it. In fact, I won't even say I won't enjoy it. I don't think I've ever once started a book because of the way social media is at the moment, and like influencers and like just the whole thing of the internet.
Yeah,
Um, People get into writing, I think, for the props, like to be part of like the book community or whatever, and they'll write a book and they'll put it out and they'll get popularity because they've got a following or something.
yeah,
But they're not the mainstays. They're not going to stay in the publishing industry for long. They're going to jump to the next thing that
yeah,
makes them famous or whatever in a
yeah,
couple of years. I'm just like, let the kids play. It's
yeah,
fine. Like, this is my career. I'm
yeah,
okay. Like, I'll be doing this for like 40 years. I don't read those sorts of books, like the ones that come out and you can tell that they've not been really through anything. They've not been through a proper edit or dev edit or anything. I'm just like, just do you. Have a good time. I'm
yeah,
over here like on a deadline.
yeah.
Like I'm editing because this means something to me.
You've actually just brought up a really good point, Sam. Sustainability in writing.
Mm.
Because I was having this chat with another author. So obviously, we talk amongst authors. Sure, we're a big community, but we're also a lot smaller than a lot of people realize.
Hmm.
And in one camp, I see a lot of authors trying to put out as many books as possible per year because there's almost like this panic to show that you have staying power. But then you also have some authors, and again, I'm going to reference Vanessa Rosanen because I took my guidance from her actually. Because at the beginning, I was producing 3 books per year,
Hmm.
which I'm not gonna lie, if I had kept up with that pace, I would have been burnt out. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm at 2 books per year, which is a very comfortable pace for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
and I know I can go to 3 if I have to, but I don't have to. And I know that that is what makes writing for me sustainable, is that it doesn't feel like a chore. It's fun. I
Yeah.
have this creativity that I can really just flex. I have this space to think about, do I want to do a special edition? Do I want to start a podcast? I'm
Hmm.
jam packing my life trying to keep up this frantic pace. So I
Yeah.
really love that you referenced the sustainability there, because that's really, we're playing a long game here. It's not a
Oh,
get
yeah.
rich overnight scenario.
I don't know if it was get richer overnight. I've missed I've missed something. I know I sustainability is one thing that I have always thought about. And it's difficult because it depends what genre you're in and what like the length of books it is you're writing. So like I know a lot of cozy mystery writers because my writing wife slash my podcast co-host, she's in the cozy mystery genre. And so I know a lot of her friends, and we've got a lot of people in our Discord who are in that genre. And they publish quite a lot of books a year because they are writing shorter books. They're very fast paced and it's more of a genre that expects a longer series. But for fantasy, like I'm writing the book that I'm editing right now is 130,000 words. I need to edit it down. I'm aiming for 90.
Yeah,
But that plays into the process because I've written that many words and now I've got to edit that many words.
yeah,
So it's an impossibility for me to add more books. I do 2 a year,
yeah,
and it would be impossible for me to add a third without completely drastically changing my schedule in life. And also like you, like I've got a full-time job
yeah,
and I do a podcast and I have a social life and like a relationship. I've got
yeah,
a dog that needs walking. Like I've got so much in my life. I couldn't possibly release more. If I was doing this full time, which is the aim of the game, then
yeah,
I would hope for 3 books.
yeah,
Obviously, the more books you release, the more money you should be able to make.
yeah,
So it's like a whole, like, it's such like, a big thing that you have to think about
yeah,
is how does it all tie into like the whole big picture of publishing?
yeah. And then
Um, yeah,
there's strategy there. I agree with
yeah,
you, because I also see a lot of younger authors, not like age as in our age, as in
mm-mm,
experience with authors.
yes, yeah,
They want to let go of their personal lives to write. Do
don't
not
do it.
do that. Um,
Yeah,
so, like, I am still religious about my bar classes, for example, and you'll always see me
mm,
talk about my bar classes, and I love
yeah.
it. She recently introduced this year another exercise class. It's one of these spin classes where you like do the dancing,
Oh yeah, yeah,
the fun music, having that break from writing. I actually get my
yeah,
best ideas during an exercise class, believe it or not. Just having those, I almost want to say, pieces of social life outside of writing is so
hmm.
important. We cannot, I mean, as much as we want to become recluses in our own writing worlds, we
I'd
should.
love to. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I've done it, and I've done like over lockdown, when COVID happened. I thought that not seeing anybody would actually make me more creative, and it was my
yeah,
least creative period because it was like what was the point of writing books? Because I
yeah,
didn't have anything else feeding me. Like there was no. I am a very much an introvert, but I'm like a bit of an ambivert. Like I do love to be social and then get to go home and do my own things.
yeah,
But without having that dual part of my life,
yeah,
everything fell apart. So
yeah,
I've like come to learn that I really need to be able to have social stuff and just go outside and enjoy things. Like I love that you go to bar. I used to go to bar classes and I haven't been for so long, but like I started going to Pilates class. I took up pottery. I love picking up hobbies. So
yeah,
I like to have time for that. And it's very important, like you say,
yeah,
you've got to feed your creativity
yeah,
by living a life. You
yeah.
can't, there's no such thing as being a creative if you're not like experiencing anything.
And that's actually the perfect entry point into my next question, because you've kind of touched on it here. You also have your own podcast,
Yeah.
Pen to Page. So I actually read it as the username on Instagram all the time, Pen to Page.
Yeah.
But the correct word is Pen to Paycheck podcast.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your co-host. Do you want to talk us a little bit about your inspiration? Why did you create this? Because I know creating a podcast is also not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's so much easier when you've got somebody else to help. Much like everything in my life, I find it so much easier if somebody else is there to kind of do all the heavy lifting or like the important adult things, and I just
Yeah.
run around doing the creative stuff.
Check.
Um, yeah. So me and a friend, who we kind of like, it's a bit of a tenuous link. She is the friend of one of my very old friends. Our ships kind of we were like kind of like ships in the night through our entire lives. We knew of each other, but we weren't really in the same social groups. And one fateful day on Twitter, back when I used Twitter,
Yeah.
I was feeling frustrated at my author career, and I decided that I wanted to try and make being an author my full-time job by the time I'm 40. Spoiler alert, it's not happened yet. But that one, I tweeted that, and that one tweet kick-started everything that's happened since. So that was a couple of years ago. And she saw that tweet and replied and said, "Oh my God, I've been feeling the exact same way. Let's meet up." And we, after like a few like things like COVID and stuff that had happened in between, we met up and decided to create a mastermind group, which I don't know if people have heard of this. So it's kind of like when you team up with other authors or anybody in your career and you tackle the business together. So you look at problems that you have in your own business, you kind of learn from each other and share information. That one single thing has changed my life, just having somebody to talk to about. Literally, we text all the time and we meet up once a month and like face to face. And then we decided that we wanted to record what we were doing to help other authors and show them like this is what we're doing to get from like this low level. Like we've both published a lot of books, but we're not making any money. We're very open with everything to do with money and everything. So we're both publishing constantly, not making any money, and we wanted to really take a stab at changing that with our mastermind group and documenting how. So we were like, oh, I've always wanted to make a podcast. And 2 weeks later, we had a podcast. We're both very like go-getter people. We started the podcast in January 2024. We've been going for a year. We're on season 2 now. And in the space of like all that time that we've been podcasting, we have grown a community. We've got a Discord group that is really great. So it's kind of like a mini mastermind where everyone shares what they're doing, what works for them, and we've just kind of like learned so much about being an indie author, and it's just been like life-changing. I just love it. I love sharing stuff with other authors, having conversations, and I think we've opened a lot of doors for ourselves and for other people by doing it. So everyone should do a podcast.
I fucking love that. It's funny that you say that because I've discussed this on the podcast before. One of my big reasons for starting my podcast was I was seeing the same authors over and over again. The most famous example is SJM. Okay, we know her, we love her. She's the gateway to most people getting back into reading, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But there are so many other authors out there, and if we just give them a platform to be able to discuss their work, we're actually just widening their horizons, I should say, and the TBR. So like 2 things happened this week where the episode I released this week, one of the girls, also an author, but she was like, this author that you had on the episode is a huge inspiration for me. And I've actually been struggling with my current edits, and listening to her episode inspired me to push through it. And I was like, that's exactly why I do this.
Yeah, I love that.
And then a follow-up episode. So we're on the same podcast group that we have, and chatting to one of the girls, and she was like, okay, cool. She's like, will you recommend an episode that you think like suits me? And I was like, okay, challenge accepted, because I'm also getting to know these podcast people. So I sent her an episode and she's like, I'm fucking obsessed. She's like, I've just downloaded this book from KU. I've never heard of this author before. I now need to fix. And I'm like, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Every author that you've had on makes me go onto Amazon and add their books to my TBR. Like, I love it. And you're right, like there are so many authors out there, and the algorithm is so like suppressive. It takes so much to break out of like whatever 200 view jail and stuff that you get stuck in. Like I've got like 1,500 followers or something, like almost 2,000, and I know that my posts only get seen by 20 to 30 people. My reels get seen by more, and my TikTok is like gets seen by a hell of a lot more. But my basic Instagram is just, it feels impossible to break out and to have people see stuff. So it's like these sorts of podcasts, like your podcast is fantastic. Just shining a light on everybody else is
Yeah.
so helpful. And that's why like I really love the community aspect of like what you're doing, what I'm doing,
Yeah.
is that we're kind of like helping to lift everybody up and like open doors,
Yeah.
because you can't do it on your own. I honestly do think it's impossible. I think if you're an author and you're doing it on your own, you will really struggle,
Yeah.
and it's just so lonely. And like if you obviously there are the select few who do it on their own and they do great. Like I love people that have success immediately, but that's not the majority of us. And the
Yeah.
majority of us are just struggling every day, and it's so nice to find people who you can talk to about it as openly as possible,
Yeah.
and make connections and like meet people. And yeah, I think that this is the future.
It's a great way for me to discover new work. I'm not gonna lie though. Earlier this week, one of my at the time of this episode when we release it, and he will be a previous guest. When I saw him posting about your book, I was like, I know her. She's going to be on the podcast soon. I was like, because he didn't tag you, and I understand why.
Yeah, yeah,
Been about the pen name versus your real name.
yes, yeah,
Sam wrote this book.
yeah.
Could be
I know. Yes, I was like, oh, somebody's brought my paperback. It's so nice because like most people will tag me if I've like sent them the book or we've had a conversation before, but it's hard to find people who just buy your book on a whim,
yeah.
and like don't tag or don't make a hashtag or anything. So it's like really nice to see your book out in the wild, and I'm so glad you tagged me in that because it really made my week.
I look at my KU reads and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll go to my husband. I was like, someone's reading my book. And I was like,
Yeah.
look at that. Look at it big.
Yeah. It makes me happy every day. Every day I'm refreshing. Like how many reads have I had? Who's bought the book? I gotta see it.
So your next release is The Moon is a Door, and you've comped this to the Dead Poets Society and The Craft. Now, I was maybe a little bit too young to watch The Craft when it came out. It didn't stop me though, but I loved that movie, even though I can see why I had nightmares at that time now. I'd love to just understand your inspiration for this book, and assuming it's a series, and who would you say is your ideal reader for this book?
Yeah, I was trying to think up a series that was like what I wanted to read. And I'm a big movie buff. I watch movies all the time, and I'll rewatch movies. Like I'll just rewatch the same films over and over again. And I strangely within like the same time I'd watched The Craft recently, and I really wanted to write something that was that like soaked in magic and teen rebellion, and just like that whole vibe was like just one of my favorite things. I love that movie. And have also recently watched Dead Poet Society, and I hadn't watched that growing up, so that was a new thing that I watched maybe a few years ago, and I've watched it since, and I've also read the book. So I really love anything set in a school, and I didn't even like school, so I think it's probably because I didn't really like going to school. Seeing schools in books and TV and in movies kind of feels like it's the life that I should have had. Like I should have enjoyed it. So I really love the whole like boarding school thing of Dead Poet Society, and of people creating these teenagers creating a group where they get to be themselves and like break rules and take risks. But I wanted it to be dark and magical. So these two things kind of like just smashed together in my head, and I thought, oh, what if I wrote a book, which will be a book series, that were those things, like these rebellious girls who are at a boarding school and they get carried away and get involved in dark magic, and then like all hell breaks loose. And yeah, like it just felt like a perfect thing. And when I told Matilda, who is my co-host on the podcast, when I told her what my two comps were, she kind of gasped and said, like, this is the book, like this is amazing. And it was like it was a NaNoWriMo project. So I wrote it a couple of years ago in November and sat on it because I actually tried it twice. I tried writing it and I couldn't quite find the right way into the story. So I gave up. And then the next year I thought, I'm going to try that book again, but I'm going to try it from a different perspective. And I wrote it all in one go, and probably over like 2 months. And I just fell in love with it and thought, I need to release this. It needs to be under my name. And this needs to be the start of like my new brand of dark young adult fantasy. And I think it'd be great for readers who love things like Ninth House, anything that's like dark academia.
Yeah.
So yeah, and people who like love the craft and witches and like Charmed, and like literally everything where magic just takes people down wrong routes. Yeah, and I'm hoping that people enjoy it. I'm at that stage in editing where I'm still like worried that it's not going to hit the mark. But fingers crossed. Like there's been a lot of nice reactions to it online. I'm trying to like drum up some interest and get pre-orders.
Yeah.
And so far, people are enjoying what I'm saying.
Well, if there's anything I have seen in the past year where I've kind of shifted mainly into urban fantasy, only obviously adult, we're all looking for that. I want to say that reminiscent CW 2000s kind of era.
Hmm.
I feel like, okay, fine, the craft was maybe late 90s, if I remember
I think
correctly.
it was 96. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was on the cusp.
Hmm.
Charmed, Buffy, Angel, any of those kind of series,
Yeah.
we're all just chasing that high.
That's all I write.
Yeah.
All I write is things that are the CW, like could it be a CW show? Like, do you remember? I don't know if you remember The Secret Circle, which was based on the L.J. Smith book.
I'm,
Thank you.
I'm first of all, okay, the CW, I understand that they're disbanded now because of like financial issues or whatever, but
Mhm.
like, how can you give us one season only?
I know, I know. I think about that all the time. So it's kind of like Secret Circle as well. I
It
would say.
fucking haunts me. What is another one that Dark Angel? Okay, now granted,
Oh, don't talk to me about Dark Angel. It's my favorite show. I've got it on DVD and I rewatch it a lot.
so I'm like, people go, oh, what's Dark Angel? And I'm like, first of all, you're giving your age away because I remember it and you don't. Noted.
Mhm.
That series was ahead of its time. Okay,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
unbelievably so. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, okay, cool. I get it that you have budget concerns or whatever. I'm like, your budget concerns, make the series.
Yeah, make the show. Bring Dark Angel, but actually, no, leave Dark Angel because it is perfect as it is. But
Yeah,
we need more of those shows. Yeah, like I mean, that was James Cameron. So,
yeah,
um, like he's just a genius at writing those futuristic stories. That's why I love writing the books that I write because I feel like I'm plugging that gap. But it's
yeah.
just trying to get the word out there that if you love those sorts of things
Mm,
with like teenagers just doing the wrong thing, no parental supervision whatsoever, like invoking ancient gods and then having to try and like figure out how to undo it.
yeah.
Like that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, off the back of that, I do have to ask if you could pick one famous book and rewrite the ending of it, which one
Hmm.
would you pick and why?
I'm I'm not going to rewrite any like YA books. And my when I read like because you sent me the questions so I could prepare myself before we started recording, and when I read this question, I thought I don't know if I ever think that I would want to rewrite the end of a book. But then I looked at my bookshelf and my heart broke. And I would say I would love to rewrite the end of the Philip Pullman series, His Dark Materials, the Amber Spyglass. At the very end of that book, what happens between Lyra and Will, I am not okay with.
Yeah.
and, and I would love to rewrite that book so that there's a happy ending. Because I've read that series a lot, and every time I get to the end of it, I think, why have I put myself through this again? It's one of the only books that makes me cry at the end. I can't hack it. It's like I must have something inside me that hates the idea of being like left behind or like be separated from people because it really like that one gets me every single time and I want it to not do that ever again.
What is one fantasy book that you believe deserves way more love than it's been getting on the bookstagram space?
Oh, I feel like my first one, I listed a few. My first one is like people won't agree with this, but
Yeah,
because I know like Lee Bardugo is humongous and obviously has like the Shadow and Bone series and it's very well known. But I feel like I don't see people talking about Ninth House um as much as they should. To me, that book was life changing. I read it and I thought like this is everything that I want in my life.
yeah.
It's very CW, very much like Buffy goes to college and has to save the world. And I love that. And it was so good. She doesn't need me to shine a spotlight on him. This year or last year, because I don't know how time works, I have read a couple of indie books that have since now gone trad. They've been picked up by trad, which is very fun. So one of them was Night Strider by Sophia Slade,
Okay.
like unbelievably good. And I feel like I want everybody to read that. And just it's kind of about demons and like nightmares, and they've been created by people's nightmares. So there's like dual world, there's the nightmare world and the normal mortal world. And then there was a book called Night Weaver. I realize they both have nights in the title. I'm very obviously I've got a type. Night Weaver by R.M. Gray, and that's very pirates. I mean, I'm not really into pirates, but it's kind of like pirates and then rich kids with magic powers, kind of a bit vampire-ish, and like vampires and pirates meeting. And those two books that I read kind of close together because I was reading a lot of indie books,
Yeah.
and I just was just blown away by how good they were. And I don't really see, they have like a good following online, but I just don't see anybody really talking about it outside of their bubbles. So definitely go and pick those books up if anybody's looking for like dark fantasy adventures with romance that just makes you just want to like, oh, I just want to be in this book.
I love that.
Those books are great.
Yeah, you just touched on something interesting about a lot of indies are going, I almost want to say the hybrid space, where, they do, I mean, Karina Hill, she's hybrid, for example. She
Yeah.
started out as indie, but she has a few books that are traditionally published. I know that Penn Cole specifically, so for anyone who needs a reminder, Penn Cole wrote the Kindred Coast saga. She started off as indie, released book 1 to 3 in rapid succession. And then it was like a little bit of I almost want to say a debacle online where book 4 was up for pre-order. So it's a 4-book series. And then it got pulled. And everyone's like, what the fuck is happening? Turns out she got a traditional deal. She actually got a lot of backlash online for that, which I don't agree with. I think that was very unfair towards Penn. But if I understand her strategy, she has retained the ebook rights to her series.
Right.
She
Yeah.
held the print rights to the traditional publisher.
Yeah.
Which, to my knowledge, I haven't seen it done that way before because she's still able to keep her creative control that way.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more and more indies kind of follow that route. And I get it, financial security to a degree. I mean, that part is a little bit questionable because I've also heard some traditional publishers are not very good at that.
No.
Distribution, because you cannot beat a traditional publisher's distribution channels.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah, you've got to weigh up the pros and cons. Definitely getting into the bookshops is such a bonus. And I see, like, when I see indie books, like books that I know started as indie, and I see them in bookshops, I'm like so happy for them because that's such a giant step to take in their career. I do have that kind of feeling of I feel like trad publishers are being really like cheeky by doing that because they're basically trying to cash in on the hard work that the indies have done doing it themselves. So it's like, didn't count as being good enough until we started to figure out the business on our own, and now all of a sudden they're like, well, let us help you. And my like rebellious nature and hating to be told what to do, if I know that I probably would have to take it seriously, considering what it would do for my business if a trad publisher came to me and said, we want to take your books and distribute them. A big part of me would really want to like tell them where to go. I'd be like, you're not cashing in on my success. But yeah, like you say, even if it's a small amount of monetary comfort, like I think you'd have to take it, and just why not see where it goes?
Well, so for me, it's an interesting thing that I looked into because one of my series I would love to see made into a TV show.
Me too. I'd love to do a TV show.
If someone said, okay, cool, I want to write a script for your book right now, I'd be like, where's the dotted line? Like, tell me. Like, for me, I am far more into the TV series because like it could work as a movie, but I see it more as like a TV series. I'm more interested in that than a trad deal. I've actually said on the podcast before, if a traditional publisher had to offer me a deal, I'd say no, and I'll tell you why, is because not only is my content it's not super dark, but it is on the darker side, which is not very mainstream right now. And if you think about it, traditional publishing is a business model, just like anything else. They need return on their investment, which 100% makes sense. For me, also, I sometimes don't know what the ending of a book's going to be. I just let the characters take over and like do their thing. Imagine someone comes in and tells me to change it. No, That's not how this works. Thank you very much.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have to take into consideration like a very big picture of what it would mean to go trans. Because
Yeah.
I love being indie, I love being in control. I love like the excitement of projects and like the whole thing. I just absolutely love it. I've been doing it for so long. And like you said, like I would much rather somebody came in and said, we're going to make a TV show. That's where I go. I that is a huge goal. It's like on my big dream board thing that I've got where it's like, what would I love in my life? Get me a TV show. I've even done a course on writing for TV. So I did a course on how to write TV scripts and like write a series.
Yeah.
And I feel like as much as I wouldn't want to be a showrunner, I could write like the first few episodes and then hand it over to them, no problem.
So, Sam, we know you have The Moon is a Door. It's your next release. Can you give us a little bit of a hint of what else we can expect from you in your author?
I can tell you, I am somebody who plans like years in advance. So in front of me, it's like my whole office is a mess, but in front of me is even messier. I have got post-its everywhere with all of the books that I have coming out over the next few years. And so I obviously can't tell you like the details, but we are definitely swaying more towards witches, vampires, and some type of kind of like dead, uh, kind of dead creatures and demons. So it's yeah, definitely going a lot darker. One of my series is set in a graveyard, which is like one of my favorite series that I've written. So yeah, I've kind of already got like books on the go that are in different stages of editing. So just think like CW,
Yeah.
um, but like a little bit darker, like teenagers who are kind of making deals with devils and yeah, and things getting a little bit creepy. That's where we're going, and I'm very excited to do that.
So, if anyone listening and they're like, I love Sam's vibe, I want to connect with her more, you mentioned you have a TikTok and an Instagram account. What is the
Mhm.
best way to get in contact with you and connect?
Instagram is where I spend most of my time, even though TikTok I get much further reach. But they're the same name, so I'm at Samo Rimo
Yeah.
on all accounts. Yeah, like just come and join and find what I'm doing. Yeah. If you're interested in like podcasty stuff, then yeah, Pen to Paycheck Authors podcast. For anybody who wants to find out how it works and how to get better, come along and listen to that too.
I can totally recommend your podcast because I I didn't realize how many people didn't know a lot of these author things. So, for example, I had a comment in my personal life once where they're like, "Oh, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to make millions and I'm going to go on Twitters and stuff," and I was like, "How?" Unless you go viral, which is like a one in a million, it is possible, but like that's not something you
Hmm.
control really. Um, are we living in the same world? Because if royalties that come from KU, yeah, you're gonna need to sell like a million books to make that happen.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think podcasts like yours are so important because it really brings a lot of that information, like you said, to light. And then actually, if people need that resource where, hey, I'm thinking of becoming an indie author, where do I go? Bam,
Hmm.
podcast,
Yeah.
first thing you.
Yeah. And 100%. I and my co-host, we love helping people out and answering questions. I want everybody who wants to be a writer, I want them to be a writer. So yeah, I'm always like, I love helping people. It's such a passion of mine to make people's, I've talked about this in the podcast. Like, I feel like my goal in life is to make other people's dreams come true. I don't know why. I'm just like, I just want to make everyone get what they want in life.
And I had someone say to me once, why are you so helpful with indie authors? So I do it more one-on-one than on a public platform.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, well, first of all, there last time I checked in the States alone, there's over 2 million fantasy authors, and we're still growing by the day. There's like more than enough space for all of us to have a
Oh
piece
yeah.
of the pie. And I love
Hmm.
that team kind of mentality. We shouldn't need to, I mean, this is not corporate. We don't need to claw over each other to get to the top. So
Yeah.
love the girl power energy.
Yeah, exactly. I think I love the phrase, the rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah.
So, if one of us succeeds, the rest of us can succeed.
That's amazing. Sam, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait for people to hear your episode. You have been such a vibe, and I cannot wait to see what you do next on the socials.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.